Good morning. Very exciting today because yesterday this turned up. Sony RX100 Mark V. I use this camera quite a lot. This is a Canon G7X Mark I. It's robust, solid, but it does have some limitations. Principally, it's got a really rubbish time-lapse function. The sound quality is a bit dodgy in quiet environments. You get a kind of Geiger counter type sound. It also maxes out at 1080p, 60 frames per second at least, but still only 1080p. How does that compare with this one? I've already unboxed it. Firstly, you can see they look pretty similar. Similar sort of weight, similar sort of size. This one is definitely more expensive, especially considering this is the Mark I version. But even a brand spanking new Mark II version, this one would still be a couple of £100 more expensive. Just in case you're wondering, the Mark II version does not improve the resolution or frame rate over the Mark I with the Canon G7X. Whereas this will shoot 4K. It will do like really high frame rates. It can do up to 7 seconds worth of 960 frames per second. Not had a chance to try that out yet, but I fully intend to have a go some point today. Did have a bit of a play with it yesterday and got some footage, because one of the things that you have to do first when you get a camera, apart from adding fluffy bits on the top so that you can't use the flash, and a quick connect plate on the bottom so that you can do this. Oh, another difference is this has got one of those screens that can actually tilt down a little bit, which is not really something I particularly want, especially as it seems to make this look an awful lot more flimsy at the back there. A little bit of, I like something that's a bit more robust. This one just got a nice big chunky hinge. Starts up relatively quickly. You have to try these things to know, which is why I did a bit of testing yesterday. Just doing some quick tests really on this camera. Okay, cool. Well, we're just going to town now. Not shooting a video today, just testing the camera out. Looking for a new case. Okay, so this I suppose is the slightly quieter, low light experience. Basically, what I'm trying to do is I want to start using this new Sony RX100 Mark V as soon as possible. But before I can safely do that, I need to know what it's going to do well and what it's going to struggle with. Otherwise, I run the risk of doing an entire vlog post and finding that the videos look rubbish because some setting is not right, or the sound is unusable because of, I don't know, autofocus sound in the background, or I don't know, any of a million. It just needs testing. Testing is what's required, and that's what we're doing. Seems pretty good in low light. What do you reckon, Jasper? Ooh, you almost got a whole side there, haven't you? Just one quick point about the light here, in case anyone's wondering. I don't know if you can tell, but it is basically pitch black. This is a darkened car. We're just waiting for Mummy to get some shopping, aren't we? This is a speed test. Jasper wrote his name on the window there, if you can just about see it. But it's fading fast, and I managed to get the camera out reasonably quickly. One quick thing I've noticed that is a bit annoying is I can't see if it's recording when the screen is up like this, because one of my little micro wind muffler things is exactly covering the bit where it says it's recording, which is a bit unnerving because I have a long proud history of recording stuff and not having pressed record. Another quick thing that I have noticed, it doesn't seem to have quite as much of a zoom as the Canon G7X that it's replacing. But I'm just loving this low light ability. Ooh, quick ankle update. I have been walking around the town centre here at my usual brisk pace without a limp. There is a little bit of ache, a little bit of pain still in that ankle, but it is at a level where it's not interfering with me getting around the place. And I don't like to walk slowly because, you know, I don't really like to walk. I'd rather be on a skateboard, but unfortunately it's damp. And there's Mummy with the shopping. Now in a minute we're going to all head out to a country park and do some cycling. It's going to be good fun, and hopefully it will give me the opportunity to give this a bit of a test drive in daylight. Something that I have noticed already, I actually think the image stabilization might be ever so slightly better in the Canon. Optical stabilization in this Canon is just phenomenal. Yeah, I'm still getting to grips with this thing. Right, anyway, they've got to get the bikes in the back of the car now, so see you guys in a bit. And you too. Another difference quickly before I forget with this Sony is that the screen on it is not touchscreen, which on the one hand it makes touch focusing possible if you have a touchscreen. On the other hand, it means that when you're trying to sort of fumble the camera around with one hand, you're not accidentally telling it to focus on your feet or something. I do kind of miss the touchscreen with the menus because you can't just jump from one side to the other really easily. You've got to kind of scroll across, but you know, it's perfectly doable. Right, I've got to get those bikes in the back of the car because we are literally going any second now. And also, quickly stick this tube elasticy thing around my ankle just to give it a bit of extra strength because I'm going to be on a bike. I want to just try and give my ankle as much stamina for the day as I can. We are doing alright though. As you can see, the limp is more or less gone, which is good. Ah, good. Now, it's a bit windy, so I can give this thing a proper wind test. Yesterday, it was also a little bit windy, as it always is in the UK, but it was also rainy, and this camera, not weather sealed. Doesn't like moisture. I mentioned how heavy this bike is. It's great, I love it. It's not light. Come on, around your side. Yes, very strong. Brilliant.
I have got a six-pack. Look at my six-pack here now.
Very cool. Definitely going to have to be careful with this camera getting wet because it looks like it could start raining any second. You know, if you let the weather stop you in Britain, you'd leave the house like 2 weekends in the year. Time to unload this little lot. Stay out of the puddles and mud, okay, Jasper?
What's wrong?
Being silly. Turns out we're at the wrong park. Right, let's try this again. This time we are at the right park. Jasper, you can do some cycling, but you must stay where we can see you, okay?
I'm going to be over there.
Yeah, just stay out of the mud, boys. So this is the sunlight test. Probably this is going to be the only time the sun's out today, so... Don't worry, Jasper, the cars aren't going to drive into you, chicken, alright? I promise you. Right, stop here, Jasper, because there's cars. Well done. I have managed to coat my bike in mud. Oh well, I guess that's what it's there for. Bit of a tight squeeze getting those bikes in the back, but worth it. I think the house is... it's a bit dirty. Time for some housework. Final thoughts on this camera. I think it's great. It does take a little bit longer to actually like get the thing turned on and videoing. There is something else I quite like. On both this camera and the Canon G7X, you can't open the flap to get at the battery and the SD card without taking off the quick connect plate, which I find really annoying. With this particular camera, you've got a USB socket here, and you can charge from the USB, whereas the Mark I version of the Canon G7X, you can't charge from USB. You can with the Mark II, but I didn't have that one. So I'm just using that little port to copy all the files out and also charge the thing. And that way I can leave the quick connect plate where it is. I've had a good go now with some of the features like the time-lapse, which is significantly better than it was on the G7X, where the minimum interval on the G7X is 15 seconds. Minimum interval on this camera, 1 second, just like you'd expect. Anything else I want to mention? I don't know what the sound's like in wind, because I haven't looked at the footage I've taken in the forest yet, but you know, let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Is this a good camera? Also had a bit of a play with the high frame rate system. You can only take short high frame rate clips because it's actually recording information quicker than it could write it to the SD card. So what kind of happens is you press it and it shoots for a few seconds, and then it takes like 10 seconds to put that 3-second high frame rate clip onto the SD card. So it's kind of, you know, you have to know what it is you want to be shooting, and good camera. Significant improvement over the G7X. Obviously, I'm not really looking at it from the point of view of a stills camera because, you know, I take like 5 still shots over a year. The vast majority of what I'm using these cameras for is obviously video and vlogging. And this is a very popular vlogging camera. And so is the Canon G7X. Right, this is the point in the day where I'm going to say goodbye. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, remember to like it, share it and subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Instagram if you don't already, and I will see you tomorrow for the next installment of my daily vlog. Bye. I now have 2 cameras on me and I don't know which one I'm supposed to be looking at. Very complicated. At the moment this is just shooting in 1080p because I put my videos up in 1080p. It's nice to shoot 4K though, because you can then crop it down without losing quality. Whether I'm going to bother to do that in this particular case, I don't know.